Let's start with them. ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिशितारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Nitya Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaur Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Danatranam. Thank you all so much for joining. So we are on the 22nd chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. And in yesterday's section, we were reading about firstly the different do's and don'ts, then how strong is the process of devotional service, that one does not need to wander here and there or engage in dhyana or ashtang yoga or try to get any mystic siddhis. None of those things are required if one is engaged in devotional service to Krishna. Then we read about how there are different type of debts that we have, rina, and there are different methods to get absolved of those debts. But again, one who is engaged in the Sankirtan Yajna does not have to worry about getting absolved from those debts at all, because chanting of the names of Krishna, service of Krishna is very, very powerful, and that removes all the debts. And then we were reading about the spontaneous love, the Raganuga Bhakti. The Brajvasis are known as the Ragatmika Bhaktas, and the devotees who follow in their footsteps and render service to Krishna in that mood are called as the Raganuga Bhaktas. Okay? And when one becomes attached to Krishna naturally, spontaneously, that is Ragatmika Bhakti. And we read that it's a very elevated stage, it's a very advanced stage. And Prabhupada cautioned us that we should not artificially try to behave like a Raganuga Bhakta, because it's a very advanced stage when one does not have to force oneself to do anything, and the bhakti just naturally flows. So that is what we read yesterday, and today we'll continue in that same sequence, reading about the spontaneous love for Lord Krishna. Okay, so we'll start with verse 153. जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद. So let's start with 153. Dr. K. Karpagavali Mataji. Mataji, you want to read?
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Topic of Radha Bhakti Gurabhadi Sari Conclusion, the conclusion before that, the inhabitants of the intentions or these things are of Shastra. That is the way of spontaneous love. Does not care for the intentions or reasonings of Shastra. That is the way of spontaneous love. So, shall I continue, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, but Mataji, your voice is breaking a little.
Hi, Mataji. Perfect. I'm traveling, Mataji. That's it.
Okay. Yes, Mataji, please read.
Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura says that the devotee is attracted by the service of the inhabitants of Vrindavana, namely the cowherd men Maharaja Nanda, Mother Yasoda, Radharani, and the gopis, the cows, and the calves. An advanced devotee is attracted by the service rendered by eternal survivor of the Lord. This attraction is called spontaneous attraction. Technically, it is called Sarupa
Swarupa
Upa,
Uplabdhi.
Sarupa Uplabdhi. This stage is not achieved in the beginning. In the beginning, beginning, one has to render service strictly according to the regulated principles set forth by the revealed scriptures and the spiritual master. By continuous rendering service through the process of by the bhakti, the one's natural inclination is gradually awakened. This is called spontaneous attraction or Raganuga Bhakti. An advanced devotee situated in the platform of spontaneity is already very expert in thought and expression, logic and argument. When he comes into the point of eternal love for Krishna, no one can deviate him from that position, neither by argument nor by sarcastic evidence. An advanced devotee has realized his eternal relationship with the God, and consequently he does not accept the logic or and arguments of others. Such an advanced devotee has nothing to do with the Sakya,
Sajya.
Sakya, Sakya. To manufacture their own way, commitments by indulging and in illicit intoxicating gambling. This if not means eating, sometimes the sagyas imitate advanced devotees and live in their own mystical way, avoiding the principles set down in the revealed scriptures. Unless one follows the six Goswamis, Sri Gopa, Sanatana, Raghunatha, Raghunandan, Bhatta, Sri
Raghunath.
Jiva Gopala Bhatta, and Raghunanda Dasa. One cannot be a bona fide spontaneous lover of Krishna. In this connection, Srila Narottama Dasa Thakura says, Rupa Rajanada Pade Hiti Akuti Kabe Kama Vijay or Yukala Beneficity. The Sahajia's understanding of the love affairs between Radha and Krishna is not bona fide because they do not follow the principles laid down by the six Goswamis. Their illicit connection and their imitation of the rest of Rupa Goswami, as well as their avoidance of the prescribed methods of real scriptures, will lead them to the lowest regions of hell. Regions of hell. These initiative sadhyas are treated and unfortunate. They are not equal to advanced devotees, Paramahamsas. The
Debauchees.
Sabhajis and Paramahamsas are not at the same level. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So here it is mentioned that if one follows in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan out of such transcendental covetousness, he does not care for the injunctions or reasonings of Shastra. That is the way of spontaneous love. So Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, he is quoting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that a devotee is attracted by the service of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan, we know that there are five rasas in which Lord Krishna is being served. There is Shanta rasa, there is Dasya rasa, Sakya rasa, then there is Vatsalya rasa, Madhurya rasa. So in these different rasas, Lord Krishna is being served. So when devotees are trying to, rekindle their attraction for Krishna, they get attracted to the service of the inhabitants of Vrindavan in any of the different rasas. Okay, one will feel attracted to a particular kind of rasa, and like it's mentioned, an advanced devotee is attracted by the service rendered by an eternal servitor of the Lord. So these are all the eternal associates of Lord Krishna, right? Radharani, Mother Yashoda, Nand Baba, the gopis, the cowherd men, cowherd ladies of Vrindavan, calves also. They are eternally Krishna's associates. And so the devotee, when the devotee advances, they start feeling attraction to these eternal servitors of Krishna. And this attraction, Prabhupada is saying, is called spontaneous attraction. And this is Swarupa Upalabdhi. One starts realizing what is one's Swarup, in what mood is one to serve Krishna. Okay, but this stage is not achieved in the beginning. That's what Prabhupada is explaining. It's not like suddenly one, one fine day, one just wakes up and starts feeling that, oh, I am a gopi of Krishna, oh, I am a friend of Krishna, oh, I am a mother of Krishna. All these things don't just come automatically and not in the beginning. One has to first strictly follow the regulative principles which the Shastras have set forth, which the spiritual master has recommended, and this has to be done continuously and patiently. Through this process of Vedi Bhakti, then one's natural inclination is gradually awakened. It's a gradual process, and that is called spontaneous attraction or Raganuga Bhakti. Okay, so this has to be understood very nicely, very clearly, that this does not happen in the beginning and one should not pretend that. Okay, and then Prabhupada is explaining that for a devotee who has reached that level of spontaneous love, they are already very expert in Shastric injunctions, logic, and argument. They have crossed all those stages and then they have come to that level of bhakti. And their love for Krishna at that stage is so spontaneous that nothing can deviate them from that position. No argument, no Shastric evidence can then deviate the devotee from their advanced position. Initially, what happens is that when one is trying to engage in devotional service, then we read Shastra. Sometimes we hear other different kind of arguments, or different experiences of other people, and we may start feeling that, oh, maybe that path is actually better, or maybe that path is more lucrative. But for a devotee who is in that spontaneous level, nothing can deviate them from their position, and they have nothing to do with sahajiyas. Here, that distinction between the pure devotees, the spontaneous love devotees, and sahajiyas has to be made, because externally they may appear to be the same. Because when one is in that advanced position, one has realized their swarup, right? They have done that swarupa uplabdhi has been achieved by them, so they know that, okay, what is their position. And sahajiyas, they pretend to be in that position. So if we are not very cautious, then we may mistake one for the other. But that is very, very risky, because we should not associate with sahajiyas. We have to be very careful around them. And that's why Prabhupada is saying that such an advanced devotee has nothing to do with sahajiyas. Because sahajiyas, they manufacture their own way and they commit sins, like illicit activities, intoxication, gambling. Even though they may not be indulging in meat eating, some may be, but some may not be, but still they are doing all these other types of activities which are completely prohibited. And they stay in a very whimsical manner. They completely avoid the Shastric principles. And Prabhupada is saying that anyone on the path of bhakti has to follow the six Goswamis. Shri Rupa Sanatan Raghunath Bhatta, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta, Raghunath Das Goswami. Otherwise, one cannot be a bona fide spontaneous lover of Krishna. So we are in this Gaudiya Sampradaya, in Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. One has to follow the six Goswamis. Otherwise, if we are deriding what the six Goswamis say and yet we are saying that we are lovers of Krishna, then it is completely false. It doesn't make any sense. And the Sahajiya, the understanding of the love affairs between Radha and Krishna is not bona fide. Why? Because they are not following the principles of the six Goswamis. We cannot override the teachers. A student cannot just override the teacher and say that I have understood everything. Then the teacher's understanding is flawed, and that is the same thing here. Then Prabhupada mentions that for the Sahajiyas, their illicit connection and their imitation of the dress of Rupa Goswami, as well as their avoidance of the prescribed methods of revealed scriptures, will lead them to the lowest regions of hell. So being a Sahajiya, Sahajiya means what? Sahaj means simple, right? So Sahajya means taking something, this path of bhakti, very cheaply, taking it to be too simple without following any rules and regulations. If we think that we have reached the level of a gopi, then we are taking this process very cheaply, and that will lead one to hell. And Prabhupada says that they are cheated and they are unfortunate. They are not equal to the Paramhansas, the devotees, and that means those pretenders and the Paramhansas are not on the same level. So this is a very important verse and very important purport, where we are learning that the level of a Paramahansa devotee, the level of a devotee who has reached, who has achieved spontaneous love for Krishna, they don't require to be pushed by any Shastra. They are self motivated. They are following all these path of bhakti, all reading, chanting, hearing, not because they have been asked to or because they have been forced to, but because they want to. That is the difference. One is required to do because one has promised one's guru or teachers, and the other, the Paramahansa devotees, they just naturally want to do it. Once Moglila Prabhu was telling that His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj had come to ISKCON Dwarka, and Maharaj had a lot of meetings, he met a lot of devotees, and a lot of services were there. And after that, his servant said that, okay, now Maharaj is going to take rest. So, what was that taking rest? Taking rest for Maharaj was Maharaj sitting and chanting. We take rest by keeping the bead bag away, at least myself. But for devotees who are on that advanced, spontaneous level, for them, taking rest is chanting. When they take their hand in the bead bag, they can't take it out. And it actually happens, when you see these great Maharajis, the advanced devotees, if you are with them, you see that, naturally their hand will go in their bead bag. It's not like they have to chant these number of rounds, so they have to take the bead bag. No, naturally their hand goes in the bead bag because their love for Krishna is so much that they naturally want to keep chanting Krishna's names. Their attraction for Krishna, their absorption in Krishna is very natural, and their prema crosses the rules and regulations given in the scriptures. They're not restricted by that at all. The sadhakas have to be told do's and don'ts, but for them it is all very, very natural because they have spontaneous love. And in this purport, two very important points that Prabhupada is telling is that first of all, one has to render service according to the revealed scriptures and orders of the spiritual master, and we have to continue doing this faithfully. Then the natural inclination comes, that attraction becomes attachment. Okay, so we have to first of all follow all the principles. We don't have to become like Sahajiyas who pretend to be great souls but who are actually gliding towards hell. So we have to be very, very careful to make that distinction. Okay, now let's go to 154. Arun Gupta Prabhu, you want to read, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Madhuri.
Hare Krishna.
विराजन्तीम् अभिव्यक्तां व्रजवासी जनादिषु रागात्मिकम् अनुश्रिता या सा रागानो गोच्यते. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Devotional service in spontaneous love is vividly expressed and manifested by the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Devotional service that accords with their devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti, or devotional service following in the wake of spontaneous loving service. Purport: this verse is also found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.270. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So again, that point is mentioned that devotional service in spontaneous love is vividly expressed and manifested by the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Now, for the Brajvasis like Mata Yashoda, Anand, Baba, Krishna's friends, gopis, even the cows and calves, they didn't have to sit and think that, oh, I have to wake up at a certain hour in the morning, then I have to sit and chant, then I have to do this, then I have to offer bhoga. For them, it was so natural because they naturally wanted to be with Krishna. They naturally wanted to serve Krishna. So for them, it was not like, they have to be told that you have to do this at a particular time and these are the list of services you have to do. It was very natural, very spontaneous for them because their love for Krishna is so deep. Okay? Now let's go to the next verse. Swati Mataji. You want to read 155?
Yes, Mataji.
Right.
तत्तद्भवति माधुर्ये श्रुतेर्यद् अपक्षते नात्र शास्त्रं न युक्तिं च तल्लभोत्पत्तिलक्षणम्. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When an advanced realized devotee heard about the efforts of the devotees of Vrindavana in the mellows of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, he becomes inclined in one of these ways and his intelligence becomes attracted. Indeed, he begins to covet that particular type of devotion. When such covetousness is awakened, one's intelligence no longer depends on the instructions of Shastra, revealed scriptures, or logic and argument. Purport. It is a word. This word is also found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.292. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. So here it is mentioned that the devotees, who are advancing on the path of Krishna consciousness and have reached that stage, they hear about the affairs of the devotees of Vrindavan in the different mellows, in the different rasas, Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. And they will feel an inclination to one of them. They will naturally feel inclined to one of these. So in the advanced devotees that we have darshan of also, we will see, some of them will be attracted to one form of the Lord more. Some will be talking more of another form of the Lord. Some, when they talk, they'll be talking about a particular rasa very, very deeply. So because that is their rasa, that is their inclination, and they have reached that stage where they are able to realize that. Okay, so they become inclined in one of these ways, and in their intelligence becomes attracted. So initial attraction becomes very, very strong for these devotees, and they covet that particular type of devotion. So either of the rasas, they will feel attraction to that. When such attraction is awakened, one's intelligence no longer depends on the instructions of the Shastra or on logic and argument. So they are very naturally devoted. They want to read more, they want to hear more, they want to chant more. They're completely in love with the Lord. So these, the great Maharajis in ISKCON also, we see that sometimes when they are lecturing, their lecture is not bound by time as such. They will, because they are speaking out of so much love, that the time, cannot really bind them, that okay, if the lecture has to be given for 1 hour, then they will just speak for 1 hour. No, the love is so much in their heart that it'll naturally overflow. So the lecture many times it'll overflow, because what they have to speak about Krishna, their love for Krishna actually knows no bounds. So those are the indications that we get, even of devotees around us. We see how great is their love for Krishna. Okay, because they are completely, we can say, mesmerized by Krishna. And so they cannot just stop at 16 rounds, or, just cannot stop with, say, 1 or 2 pages of reading, because it is very, very, it is very natural. It is very, joyful for them to engage in all these services for Krishna. Now let's go to 156 and 157 are together. Sudha Mataji, want to read?
Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare.
Krishna Mataji Dandat. बाह्य अंतर इहारा दुईत साधना बाह्य साधक देह करे श्रवण कीर्तन मने निज सिद्ध देह करिया भावना रात्रि दिने करे व्रजे कृष्णेरा सेवन. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. There are two processes by which one may execute this Raga Anuga Bhakti, external and internal. When self-realized, the advanced devotee externally remains like a neophyte and executes all the Shastric injunctions, especially those concerning hearing and chanting. But within his mind, in his original purified self-realized position, he serves Krishna in Vrindavana in his particular way. He serves Krishna 24 hours a day, all day and night. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So this is very, very important point about the devotees who have reached that spontaneous attraction, spontaneous love level. They don't, even though they have realized, their Swarupa, they don't make a show of it. You will not see these great devotees that always crying for Krishna, or, saying that I am a gopi, or saying that I am a gopa, or I am Krishna's mother, or anything like that. The advanced devotees will always keep their Swarupa, their love for Krishna hidden. They don't make a show of it at all. So that's what it is mentioned, that there are two processes by which one may execute this Raganuga Bhakti, external and internal. So when self-realized, the advanced devotee externally remains like a neophyte. Now in their heart, they have that deep connection with Krishna. They have realized their Swarup, but externally they remain like a neophyte. They will follow all the shastric injunctions. They will be hearing, they'll be chanting. If we see, they look exactly like a Veda Bhakta. They will attend classes, they will do their japa, all those things they will be doing. But within his mind, in his original purified self-realized position, he serves Krishna in Vrindavan in his particular way. But they have an internal seva also going on. In their heart, they have developed that love for Krishna. Their heart is completely purified, and 24 hours a day, they are actually living in Vrindavan with Krishna. Internally, they are doing that, but externally, they don't make a show of that. Externally, they will look like a Veda Bhakta. They will be following all the vidhis that have been prescribed. So it's mentioned here that he serves Krishna 24 hours a day, all day and night. For them, there is no question of stopping seva. Their seva is continuous because they have developed that love for Krishna, that attraction, that deep contact with Krishna is there. Okay. Now let's read 158. Padma Mataji, would you read?
Hare Krishna Mataji for the pranam. सेवा साधक रूपेण सिद्ध रूपेण चात्रहि तद्भाव लिप्सुना कार्या प्रिजलोकानुसारतः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
The advanced devotee who is inclined to spontaneous loving service should follow the activities of a particular associate of Krishna's in Vrindavan. He should execute service externally as a regulative devotee, as well as internally from his self-realized position. Thus, he should perform devotional service both externally and internally. This verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.295. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So here it is mentioned that the advanced devotee who is inclined to spontaneous loving service should follow the activities of a particular associate of Krishna's in Vrindavan. So like Mother Yashoda or the gopis, or Radharani's Seva, Radharani's friends, or the gopas, they gradually will reach a position where one of these services will attract them more. And then it is mentioned that he should execute service externally as a regulative devotee as well as internally from his self-realized position. So they don't give up that, okay, now I have realized my Swarup, so I don't have to do any seva, I don't have to do any service. It's not like that. They will be doing all the regulative, duties that are required, but internally they will be in that self-realized position. Thus, he should perform devotional service both externally and internally. Like once Yamuna Mataji was mentioning that when they had come to Radha Damodar temple with Prabhupada, after Prabhupada's preaching in the West, once when he had come, she could hear Prabhupada, alone in his room, singing for Krishna. No, we may think, okay, who's going to hear at that time? Okay, why is that required? Why should Prabhupada do it, alone? So it's not that Prabhupada was singing that to show someone or to make someone else hear it. No, that was his time, his internal connection with Krishna, and that love was overflowing, and so he was singing out of love for Krishna. even though there was no one to hear or no one to see what he was doing, but naturally he was doing. And one devotee in America had said that when he was just starting to come to the ISKCON temple, he was driving Prabhupada around in, I think it was San Francisco. And he said that, later he joined the temple and became a very nice devotee. And he said that why he joined Prabhupada was because he never saw Prabhupada have two faces. He saw Prabhupada with devotees, he saw him alone in the car, he saw him alone in his room, and Prabhupada's consciousness was the same. He was Krishna conscious at all times. So that is a sign of a pure devotee. They have that deep connection with Krishna, which is continuous, it is unbroken. And yet, externally, they will be following all the regulative principles. It's not like they give all those things up. They are very careful about, doing that seva also, or the regulative principles. But either of the sevas like Yashoda Maya or Radharani's pastimes, Krishna's friend, Krishna's pastimes with Krishna's servants, one has to find out which of these pastimes touches the heart of the devotees more, and produces the premonmad, that ecstatic outburst of love, and then that devotee's heart will naturally follow those devotees in Vrindavan. Okay, so the devotees, they have two kinds of behaviors, we can say, or two kinds of external and internal behaviors, we can say either, or we can say that they have their siddha deha, siddha body, with which they are performing bhakti internally, and with their sadhana deha they are performing bhakti externally. So even the most advanced devotees, the spontaneous love devotees, they never give up the regulative principle. They are very strict in following that. We'll see all the sannyasis and advanced devotees in ISKCON. They will be getting up in the morning. They will always be chanting, no matter how late they sleep at night. They will be up in the morning. They will be attending aartis. They will be sitting for classes. And I have seen great sannyasis, Maharajis, who are sitting in class and taking notes. I mean, that is so inspiring. And it's not like they are taking notes just to make a show, just to show everyone that I am very sincere. They really are learning from that class also. So there is so much to learn from the behavior of these great devotees. Okay, they never give up their sadhana, they never give up the regulative principles, but internally they are performing their service for Krishna too. So they are serving both externally as well as internally. Okay, now let's read 159. Swati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Nijabhishta Krishna Prashta Pacheta Lakhiya Nirantara Seva Kare Antara Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Actually, the inhabitants of Vrindavana are very dear to Krishna. If one wants to engage in spontaneous, loving service, he must follow the we must follow the
Inhabitants of Vrindavan.
inhabitants of Vrindavana and constantly engage in devotional service with his mind. Mataji, actually, the letters are very small, so it is very difficult.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Mataji. Yeah, no problem. So the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the Brajvasis, are very, very dear to Krishna. So one must follow in their footsteps and constantly engage in devotional service within his mind. So for the Brajvasis, there was no break in seva, right? Constantly they were engaged in Krishna's service. So that is we have to follow in the footsteps of the Brajvasis, okay? The advanced devotees. Now let's read 160. Sudha Mataji, want to read?
हरे कृष्ण माताजी प्रणाम कृष्णं स्मरं जनम चास्य दृष्टं निजसंहितं तत्तत्पतारतश्चासौ पूर्याद्वासं व्रजे सदा. Translation and Dr. Srila Prabhupada की जय. The devotee should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavan. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship with Krishna, and one should live in Vrindavan. If one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should mentally live there. Purport: this verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.290. Thank you, Mataji.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So four things are mentioned here that one should always think of Krishna. Our thoughts should always be in Krishna. And one should choose one of the devotees of Vrindavan like Mother Yashoda, Radharani, and so on. So that inspiration, that deep connection, their kind of seva attracts one. And then we should meditate on how Krishna and his devotees exchange pastimes. Okay, so that's why reading Shastra is so important, hearing Katha is so important, because then when we hear and we read, then that meditation is there constantly, right? Whatever we have read or heard. So we have to meditate on how Krishna and his devotees exchange pastimes. And then physically or mentally, one should live in Vrindavan. Okay. And we have read earlier in the earlier verses that at what level should one physically reside in Vrindavan. And if one is not able to physically reside, then mentally one should reside in Vrindavan. So our thoughts should be about Vrindavan. And there are so many wonderful kathas of Vrindavan that we can hear, so many beautiful Vaishnav bhajans that we can sing and hear, that will constantly keep our meditation on Vrindavan. So we can do all that. Next, 161. Swati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. दासा पित्रादि प्रेयस्त्र घन राग मार्गे नीच नीच भावेर घन. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Krishna has many types of devotees. Some are servants, some are friends, some are parents, some are conjugal lovers. Devotees who are situated in one of these attitudes of spontaneous love, according to their choice, are considered to be on the path of spontaneous loving service. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
So they are the Ragatmika bhaktas of Krishna, and they can be serving Krishna as a servant, as a friend, parents, conjugal lovers, any of the rasas. Devotees who are situated in one of these attitudes of spontaneous love, according to their choice, are considered to be on the path of spontaneous loving service. So these are the spontaneous lovers of Krishna, the Ragatmika Bhaktas of Krishna. Okay. Now let's read 162. Would someone like to read? Anyone? न कर्हि चिन्मत्परा शान्तरूपे नान्यक्ष्यन्ति नो मे निमिषो लेडिहेति येषामहं प्रिय आत्मसुतश्च सखा गुरु सुहृदो दैवमीष्टम्. Translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. My dear Mother Devahuti, O emblem of peace, my weapon, the disc of time never vanquishes those for whom I am very dear, for whom I am the super soul, son, friend, spiritual master, well-wisher, worshipable deity, and desired goal. Since the devotees are always attached to me, they are never vanquished by the agents of time. Purport. This was spoken by Kapil Dev to his mother Devahuti and is recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.38. Kapil Dev instructed his mother in Sankhya Yoga, but the importance of Bhakti Yoga is mentioned here. Later, Sankhya Yoga was imitated by atheists, whose system was founded by a different Kapil Dev, Rishi Kapila Dev. So Kapil Dev is telling his mother Devahuti that, he is saying that the devotees are never limited by time. So importance of bhakti is mentioned here. And he's saying that for the devotees, they understand Krishna as a super soul, as a son, friend, spiritual master, well-wisher, worshipable deity, and desired goal. So Krishna is everything for the devotee. And he says that devotees are always attached to me. They are never vanquished by the agents of time. So Name Bhaktya Pranashyati, Krishna's promise, the devotee is never vanquished. Okay. Now let's read 160, 163. Swati Mataji, want to read?
Yes, Mataji. पतिपुत्र सुहृद् भ्रातृ पितृवान् मित्रवद्धारिन् ये दद्यन्ति शदोक्तेभ्यो अपि नमो नमः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada teaches. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again to those who always eager meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as husband, son, friend, brother, father, or intimate friend. Purport. This verse appears in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.308. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So the different rasas, 5 rasas are mentioned here, in which the devotees of the Lord worship the Lord. Okay. Now let's go to 164. Arun Gupta Prabhu, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji. ए मत करे ये रागानुगा भक्ति कृष्ण रचरणे तारा उपजय प्रीति. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If one engages in spontaneous loving service to the Lord, his affection for the lotus feet of Krishna gradually increases. Hare Krishna.
So it is mentioned that if one engages in spontaneous loving service to the Lord, his affection for the lotus feet of Krishna gradually increases. So bhakti is so special that it's not like they have reached spontaneous loving service level, so then it's going to stagnate. No, bhakti will keep on increasing. The affection, attraction to Krishna will keep on increasing. It is so special. Krishna is so special, and the devotees of Krishna are so special. Okay. Now 165. Sudha Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
No, no, no.
प्रीति अंकुरे रति भाव हाय तोहि नामा यहा हैते वशहन हया श्री भगवान. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the seed of affection, there is attachment which goes by two names, Rati and Bhava. The Supreme Personality of Godhead comes under the control of such attachment. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura comments on this verse. Externally, a devotee performs all the items of devotional service in 9 different ways, beginning with Shravana and Kirtana. And within his mind, he always thinks of his eternal relationship with Krishna and follows in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan. If one engages himself in the service of Radha and Krishna in this way, he can transcend the regulative principles enjoined in the Shastras and through his spiritual master, fully engage in rendering spontaneous love to Krishna. In this way, he attains affection at the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna actually comes under the control of such spontaneous feelings, and ultimately one can attain association with the Lord. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So it is mentioned that in the seed of affection there is attachment which goes by two names, Rati and Bhav. Supreme Personality of Godhead comes under the control of such attachment. So Prabhupada is quoting Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that externally a devotee performs all the items of devotional service. So then Navvida Bhakti, starting with Shravan Kirtan. And within the mind, what is happening is that he's always thinking of his eternal relationship with Krishna, and he's also following the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan. If one engages in the service of Krishna and Radharani in such a way, then he's above, he's able to transcend the regulative principles and enjoined in the Shastras. And through his Guru, he is able to fully engage in rendering spontaneous love for Krishna. In this way, he attains perfection at the lotus feet of Krishna. And then this is the biggest secret revealed here. How can one control Krishna? When the devotee has reached this level, then Krishna actually comes under the control of such spontaneous feelings. So that love that devotee has for Krishna in his heart, that love controls Krishna. Ordinary devotion can attract Krishna's mercy, definitely. Krishna will help, Krishna will get, he will give the mercy, but spontaneous love actually charms Krishna. Okay, so that's what is that's what that should be our motivation to increase and be so sincere in our sadhana bhakti that one is able to reach that level of spontaneous love, because that spontaneous love is actually going to attract Lord Krishna. Okay. Now let's read 166. Raji Lakshmi Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yataha te pati Krishnera prema sevana eta kule
Kahilu.
eta kahilu abhidheya vivarana. Font size is very small, Mataji. That's why I can't see properly.
Okay. On the phone, probably it appears small.
Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That by which one can attain loving service to the Lord, I have described in detail as the execution of devotional service called Abhideya. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan, understanding our relationship with Krishna, then understanding the process by which we can re-attain that or rekindle that attraction, that love, and Prayojan, what is the ultimate objective. So it is mentioned that by which one can attain loving service to the Lord. That process I have described in detail as the execution of devotional service. Okay, so we have to execute devotional service. That is the process. That is the Abhideya. Now let's read 167. Swati Mataji, want to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Abhideya sadhana bhakti ebe kuhulam sanatana sankshepe kahulil kahilum viskara nayaya varnana. Translation by Srila Prabhupada teacher. My dear Sanatana, I have briefly described the process of devotional service in practice, which is means for obtaining love of Krishna. It cannot be described broadly. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji. So this is actually very confidential knowledge, that deep love and affection for Krishna. That is very confidential knowledge, and that's why Mahaprabhu says that I have briefly described the process of devotional service and practice, which is the means for obtaining love for Krishna, love of Krishna. It cannot be described broadly because all those details of that love, that deep love for Krishna, all those details cannot be described very broadly. So Mahaprabhu has mentioned it in briefly described it. And we see, right, that whenever we are talking about bhakti, we read bhakti and we naturally think, okay, bhakti is devotion. But Prabhupada always translates bhakti as devotional service, because he wants us to understand that bhakti is not something which is just, okay, I'm sitting and feeling something and yes, I'm doing bhakti for Krishna. No, whenever there is devotion, whenever there is love or that desire to rekindle that love, there always has to be service. There always has to be seva. That's why Prabhupada has always, given these wonderful translations that bhakti is actually devotional service. And here it is mentioned the process of devotional service in practice. So that path of bhakti, that path of devotional service is always filled with seva. Okay. Now let's read 168. Arun Gupta Prabhu, you want to read?
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Abhideya sadhana bhakti sune ye jana achi rat paya se Krishna prema dhana. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Whoever hears this description of the process of practical devotion service, very soon attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna in love and affection. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this is the Falashruti of this chapter. This chapter should be heard and applied very, very carefully. It's a very beautiful chapter. We read so many wonderful things about devotional service, the practical do's and don'ts, and we should try to, practically apply these things in our lives. Why these things are given in so much detail? So that there are so many different, we understand that there are so many different ways in which we can serve Krishna. There are so many different activities that we can do to serve Krishna. It's not a boring process. It's not a stagnant process where we are just told that, okay, this is one, or these are the only one or two things that you have to do. There is nothing else you can do, because there are different devotees with different temperaments. So that's why we are given so many things, so many ways in which Krishna can be served. And even in the Navida Bhakti, there are 9 different activities. And we read that there are devotees who just became expert in one of the ways and attained perfection. And then, of course, there is Amrish Maharaj, who was executing devotional service in all the 9 ways. So when we are reading these wonderful descriptions, it becomes, we understand that it is so broad. There is so much scope for everyone to be a part of bhakti. It's not like, you can become a devotee only by reading Shastra. So if someone cannot read Shastra, then that is the end of the road for them. No, there is also hearing, there is also chanting, there is also thinking of Krishna, there is Archanam, there is offering prayers to Krishna, there is Atmanivedanam, surrendering yourself to Krishna. So there is so much scope. It is all inclusive. Bhakti is all inclusive. It gives everyone a chance to come closer to Krishna. So here it is mentioned that whoever hears the description of the process of practical devotional service. See, Prabhupada is saying practical devotional service. What is the word in the verse? It is sadhana bhakti. And Prabhupada is telling us what is sadhana bhakti? It is devotional service in practice. So that practice is very important. So such a devotee very soon attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna in love and devotion, in love and affection. So that is the Falashruti verse. And now we are on the last verse of this chapter, 22.169. Padma Mataji, you want to read?
Yeah, Mataji. Shri Raghunath Padeyara Asha Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Dasa. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunatha, always desiring their mercy, I Krishna Dasa narrates Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus the end of Bhakti Vedanta purpose to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 22nd chapter, desiring the execution of devotional service. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We are praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, desiring their mercy. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is praying like this, and he is narrating Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Okay, so we'll stop here today. If there are any questions or comments or any points of discussion.
Very nice chapter, Mataji.
Very beautiful chapter. Yes,
Very
Mataji.
nice.
Fortunate. Yeah, we got a chance to read. Okay. So we'll stop here. Okay, if there are no questions. Thank you all so much. Vancha Kalpatru.
Mataji, one thing.
Yes,
Mataji,
yes,
one thing, sorry.
yes, tell me.
Swarupa, now, if you just visualize, if a picture, of Krishna comes into your mind, so repeatedly it comes, how do you know what is your Swarupa? Like if Dwaraka Krishna or Mathura Krishna from any temple, that type when it comes, how do you know? Is it any indication to a Swarupa or something?
Yeah, Mataji, actually realizing one's Swarupa, it's something that comes at a very advanced stage of bhakti. But if there is something one is feeling again and again, then that can be discussed confidentially with one's seniors or one's guru. They can confirm, Mataji. They can confirm if that actually has the meaning.
Yes, because there were discussions, somebody was asking, that's why I'm asking you, Mataji.
Yes,
Not that
Mataji.
it applies to me.
That can be confirmed by one's Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Thank you all so much. Pancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha.
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Anand Koti Vaishnava
Ki jai,
Shri Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Hare Krishna
Thank you,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Thank you, Dandat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Bol.
Hare Bol.